Hello and welcome, my dear friend. Some lives don't follow the straight road. The blessings are huge, but the pain hasn't been small either. These lives start with detours. They rise with resistance, and they carry questions that don't always have answers at the time they're asked. If your life has felt like that, if you've ever looked around and quietly wondered, why was this my path? You're not confused. You're remembering. Because what if I told you this wasn't random? And now, finally, what's been building behind the scenes is starting to move. Not just the understanding, but the blessing, the shift, the openings you almost stopped praying for. But before any of it could arrive, something had to break open first. The people you couldn't hold on to, the places you were never meant to settle in, the parts of yourself you had to lose just to find your center again. This life, your life, wasn't just given to you. You agreed to it. Not because you wanted pain, not because you deserved difficulty, but because something in your soul recognized the shape of what it would become. You chose this assignment with God. Before breath ever filled your lungs, before the world got noisy, before anyone ever doubted you, labeled you, or misunderstood you. And you didn't choose it to prove anything. You chose it to remember everything. Because somewhere in eternity, your soul said yes to the kind of path that would require more awareness, more sensitivity, more spiritual muscle than most people could carry. You didn't ask for ease, because a life like this, a chosen life, doesn't come with ease. You asked for truth. And truth has a strange way of tearing through illusion before it feels like comfort. Let me give you a picture. Imagine being handed a sealed letter before birth. On the outside it says, "Open only when you're ready." You're born, you grow, and you start living life like everyone else. But something always feels slightly off, like you're acting in a play where everyone else knows their lines, but yours haven't been given to you yet. And then something happens. Maybe a loss, maybe an awakening, maybe the moment you finally get tired of pretending to be okay, and you feel it, that pull towards something deeper, that quiet inner knowing that this can't be it. That's when the letter begins to open, and what's written inside isn't a list of rewards or simple instructions. It's a reminder, you chose this, and now you're remembering why. The reason your joy sometimes has a quiet edge to it. The reason you've always felt things more deeply than others. The reason even small betrayals cut you with surgical precision. It's because you were never wired for surface-level living. Your life was designed to reach beneath it all, to go places most people never look, because your agreement wasn't about status, it was about depth. You didn't come here to blend in. You came here to break patterns, to shift timelines, to heal things your family never had words for, to end cycles that wore your bloodline thin. And yes, sometimes that has looked like being misunderstood, like being the sensitive one, the difficult one, the overthinker. But sensitivity is only a weakness in a world that fears awareness. And you, my friend, are aware on a level that can't be taught. That's why certain environments that felt normal for others always felt too small for you. Why certain relationships never lasted, even when you tried to shrink yourself to keep them. Because this life was never about fitting. It was about freeing what was always buried inside of you. And as long as you compare your unique, God-given life to someone else's normal, you'll always end up disappointed, because that ruler was never made to measure a divinely designed life. You know, you weren't late, you weren't behind, you weren't broken. You were being aligned with something ancient inside of you, something that couldn't wake up until the right moment. And now, it's waking up. That's why the patterns are crumbling. That's why the desires you used to chase no longer tempt you. That's why your soul is asking for different things now. Because your contract isn't just about survival anymore, it's about embodiment. This is the season where what you've always carried quietly starts to take shape visibly. So, if your life has felt strange, if your timing has always been off by the world's standards, if your milestones have arrived in whispers instead of applause, take this in deeply. You didn't come here to follow the map. You came here to become the compass. And the reason your life looks different is because it was never meant to be a copy. It was meant to be an original story, one others would one day be inspired by. The truth is, you could have asked for something else, a different kind of life, a quieter journey. You could have signed up for a story with less loss, fewer delays, and more immediate reward. But that wouldn't have unlocked what's in you now, because you weren't just shaped by what happened, you were shaped by how deeply you paid attention to it. There's something different about someone who notices everything. The way the light shifts in a room, the tone behind someone's silence, the moment the energy changes, even when no words are spoken. That awareness? That's not random. That's part of the agreement. God didn't choose you because you were already strong. He chose you because you were willing to become strong without pretending. He chose you because you said yes to learning how to see through things most people ignore. And for a long time, that may have made you feel like you were always just a little out of step with the world around you. You didn't react the same. You didn't chase what others chased. Even your pain felt different, deeper, heavier, like it was attached to something larger than just the moment. That's because it was. This wasn't about one situation or one season. This was about shaping a soul that could hold what others couldn't. You may have asked at some point, why did they leave? Why did that fall apart? Why couldn't I stay where I felt safe? And while those moments hurt, they were never rejections. They were redirects. God wasn't punishing you. He was clearing space, not because you weren't ready for connection, but because the people meant to walk with you needed to be able to recognize you as you really are, not the version you would have had to shrink into just to keep them. You weren't being removed from love. You were being returned to real alignment. And here's the part most people never get to hear. This wasn't just a spiritual experiment. It was a sacred setup. All of it. The loneliness, the confusion, the hunger for something you couldn't name. It was preparation for a life you wouldn't just live, but lead. Because you're not here just to get through things. You're here to shift things. In your family, in your space, in the unseen spiritual atmosphere around you. That's why it's never been easy to explain what you're going through. Because your process isn't meant to be understood by everyone. It's meant to be felt by those who are being awakened by watching you. You may not preach, you may not speak loudly, but your life, it teaches. And that too is part of the agreement. So what now? Now is the season where what you know inside finally begins to show up around you. The outer world starts catching up to the inner work, and things that used to confuse you start making quiet sense. The pace you were forced to walk, the solitude you didn't choose, the discomfort of not knowing what was next, none of it was wasted. It built capacity, it built clarity, and it built a deeper trust in the God who never left, even when everything else did. You agreed to this before birth, not because you wanted to suffer, but because you wanted to see clearly. And now, you're starting to see. The timing you once questioned is beginning to align. The relationships you thought you lost are being replaced with ones that match your spirit. The dreams you almost let go of are resurfacing with new weight, because now you're ready to carry them. And more than anything, you're starting to recognize yourself again, not the version you had to become to survive, but the one that was always underneath all of it. The one that said yes long before the noise began. This isn't the end of your story. This is the part where everything starts to catch up to what's always been written. Because the moment you begin to walk with the awareness that you agreed to this, You stop fighting every detour, you stop asking to be saved from the path, and start asking to walk it with your eyes open. That's when peace shows up differently. That's when alignment replaces striving. That's when God doesn't feel far, He feels familiar. Because you've met Him before, and you're meeting Him again. So when you look at your life today, with all its sharp edges and slow climbs, don't rush to erase the parts that didn't make sense in real time. Sit with them. You'll find that they were holding shape for something your spirit was always meant to remember. And now that you've remembered, you're ready to live what you already agreed to, fully, clearly, and on purpose. This is the life your soul said yes to. And this is the season where you begin to own that yes. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If you found value in this message, please like the video and share it with others who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe and continue your amazing journey by watching one of the videos showing on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there.